against this 1-9, it's clear. And like I said, there's no way I can start that conversation or you can even get your mind, processed or get your mind free and clear. Because I'm sure, after listening to this podcast, you're going to have to go find your charger to actually charge your phone. Because those grand distractions are real. Remember, we used to have to wind our watch. One of my first watches was a Timex, and you have to wind it or pull it out, and then the dates, and you have to learn how to fix the date. Do I put it halfway out? Okay, those were the first wristwatches. Those are the type of watches we rocked. And if you found one or someone older gave you one, you felt pretty cool to be walking around with a wristwatch, kind of like having, after that, a pager or like you all with a cell phone. But that one mission and that one cause. And that's that simple wristwatch. And the reason I hear you. The reason I'm bringing up the wristwatch is because, let me reset the room. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, just wearing a wristwatch, you were prescribed by your doctor to reduce stress. If you're stressing and are having high blood pressure, they will recommend you not to wear a wristwatch. And right now, in the days and time that we living in with our cell phones, these cords be burning out. Do I have enough juice? Notifications, emails, texts. I mean, come on. It's a different world. So in the midst of, we could be in this world, but of it, and carve out some special time to basically get our mind right mentally. It's not a day go by around in the morning time after my morning coffee. I got to go spend some time. So it has to be that automatic muscle memory that we spend some time. And it's easy to be focused when no one is, seeking after you, when no one's calling you. You're not attractive. You're not pretty. You're not the energy. They're not looking for you. You didn't miss anything. You are lonely and you by yourself. So now you're going to read books. You're going to learn and get you a good job, and you're going to control and do a whole bunch of stuff that does not resonate to regular people. And this is what's going on in our secret societies and our jobs and cultures. And basically, I'm talking about human beings. I didn't put a racial epithet on anything. This thing is real. The science of Willie Lynch is real. And I'm just happy and excited that we're living in a time where it looks like we're able to actually start building our above ground railroad, because once we complete the mission and we take the ride in a journey, it's going to be a beautiful thing to basically feel human, because the superhuman somehow has a criminal element over their head. There's a criminalization bounty on the superhumans. Superhumans. So all humans are super. So like I said, we're finding a way to basically get you to not be distracted and offended. Because why would you put a criminalization clause on regular humans? Why would you put a criminalization clause on mortal people? No, you strategically had to emasculate, lie, cheat, play dirty, psychological games to control something that naturally would control you, so to speak. It is the insecurities of regular humans or subhumans to have a defense mechanism to assume and to think that somebody else will do to them what they do to others. But that's not the case, because superhumans have a spiritual compass, knowing that hurting people is not a good thing. And there's no way you can actually grow and thrive and be great by hurting people. Now, you could steal it. And as soon as you get to the apex, or as soon as you get to the position, then the devil comes for you. And then now your best moment has been, shot. But when you do it the right way, it's a defining moment. And it's a moment that can be actually passed off to the next generation with a baton. Because clearly, when they control you, it's a mental thing, and it's a systematic thing. And the system created the mental aspects of it and all the attributes that's going to keep it flowing. Because just imagine if we didn't have to write movies that will have to be approved by other humans. Tell me that. The movies, they had to like it. So this is why when we brought the slave movie, oh, we love that. We'll put that on ABC. Oh, and you wrote 2 books about it? Okay, we'll do Roots 1 and Root 2. And I'm going to go ahead and close out with the Roots conversation, because when you're dealing with humans, mortals, and superhumans, it's a natural moment that every person will get when they see the data. Because as a child, they forced us to watch Roots. And I mentioned earlier, matter of fact, on 2 occasions about, a stress reducer or things that they would prescribe people with high stress and blood pressure in the late 70s and early 80s was to not wear a wristwatch. But then the cell phone today, I'm just saying how much of a distraction all of these things are. And it's not allowing us to, reflect or give us time with ourselves to actually, get to where we need to be mentally. So I'm saying is the universe is kind of speaking, and we just had a bill signed March 29th of 2022 by President Joe Biden. It's called HR 55, House of Representatives 55, Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act, which actually cancel culture, killed critical race theorists, and ended any conversation or debate about racism versus classism. Because by him signing that bill, it doesn't say anything about class, because Emmett Till was actually killed because he was black and he saw this pretty white lady. And they brutally destroyed this black man, all whites, knowingly. And it was okay because in the South, the Democratic South at the time did not see blacks as humans. They had us documented down as 3/5. They look at us as subhuman. Why did they do that to that boy? Because he was black and they hated our race that much. How could you hate something that's not a threat? A chihuahua could bark at you all day. You would never do nothing. But let a pet bull growl at you, like, man, I'm going to get a brick and bust him upside his head. You see what I'm saying? Because that pit bull is a threat. Because if you notice that dog get out that gate, and if you're not strong enough to say, well, get back, and you get scared and show any fear, he coming at you. But that chihuahua, he can bark all he wants. You stop, he stop. So, Roots, late in the 70s, we got on from school. They played it after the stories every day for 2 weeks. Make sure you get home and watch Roots with your family. Okay. And back at that time, somebody was at the house. So you go home and you watch Roots. And I'm going all the way to the Toby scene, where it was a white man wanted to call this newly arrival. His name was Kunta Kinte. And this white man didn't want to call him Kunta Kinte because clearly the science of Willie Lynch says you change their names, you take their culture. So a part of the Willie Lynch science that we just had a bill signed to anti-Willie lynching, which was the name lynching came from Willie Lynch, the modest slave owner from the West Indies who was brought to the Americas, to the 13 colonies of 1725 to teach the Americans how to make a slave. So when I watch Roots, I'm sitting back saying, wow, he want that man's name to be different. But Kunta Kinte is an alpha male, man of pride. Because all men are not created equal, just like all humans are not created equal. The white man wanted to call him Toby. He said, hey, Toby, my name not Toby. Yes, your name is Toby. So they're naming him what they want to name him, like property, like cattle, not even human, 3/5. But why? Why do you have to possess power over this entity? Because maybe you feel superior, you feel inferior to this entity. So psychologically, you got to, matter of fact, break him like you breaking a horse and show the rest of the people that this will happen to you when we get to you. Because we lined up the strongest first. And the first one, your name is Toby. Next, and then he looked me or looked that slave master or looked that white man or that cracker. And the reason they call them crackers is not because of the saltine look, is because cracker, that whip, crack, So Toby, or I would say Kunta, before he was beaten to a pulp, was just, man, my name, just like it was modern times. You go to jail and they tell you your name is so-and-so and you like, no, it's not. But look what they did. Look what the white man did. Look what the slave masters did. Look what the oppressors did. Look what the framers did. Yeah. Framers framed us. So since you gonna say your name, and I know it was way worse than this, but this is the best image that they can do. They put this on network television at the time where they wasn't really showing, too much on TV. Because I still was watching Lucy. Her and her husband, Ricky, had separate beds and always had full pajamas on. But getting back to roots, I'm going to tell you one more time, boy, your name is Toby. Now you say your name. Kunta. They strung him up. Now, the science of Willie Lynch they probably hung him. But for some strange reason on network television, on ABC, this is what they wanted to show us. And they told us to go home and make sure you watch Roots. So I run home to go home and watch Roots with my family. And this is what I'm watching as a child. So instead of hanging him by his neck, they strung him up with his hands. Hit him with one last. Pow, what's your name? Thought that was going to work. He said, Kunta. And what I'm thinking is, this looks like the establishment of the beating. Because I'm not going to be talk about Roots too much, but somebody ran away and they cut his foot off. I think it was Chicken George. So if you ran away, if you were thinking about running away, you look over there, you see a man with one foot, you ain't going to think twice. Psychological. Science of Willie Lynch. This is what we do to runners. We cut their foot off. And you basically beating this man to a pulp because he don't want to be known as Toby. And his name is Kunta Kinte, which was a warrior from the Bantu tribe. Hit him again. Bow, bow, bow. Lit him up. Beating him to a pulp. What's your name, boy? The average human being or subhuman being, after the first lash, pow, oh, Kunta, man. Kunta, sir, Kunta. But this wasn't no average. This one of those superhumans, a predator that needed to be brought to heel. Sounds familiar. Look at the wording. The universe is lining up. Generation X is next. Matter of fact, Generation X is on deck. But listen, kept beating him and beating him and beating him. Psychological. Every whip, every sound resonated. So just imagine if you was the next man in line, the second biggest, the second strongest, the second most aggressive. And then it just went down from the strongest to the weakest, right? Line up, big to small. I'm talking about, true. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. I'm talking, mandingos. I mean, strong warriors that needed to be controlled only by metal, forged metal, and firearms. And we'll talk about that on another day. But back to the story. After